hmm Yes. This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us via Zoom. I
think she's here, kind of here.
I'm here. I'm
Yes,
here.
Daniel. Yes, Daniel Connolly and
Chicago.
Keralee Froebel of Baby No
Bunny, I'm
Name.
gonna check right back. Bunny, I'm gonna check right back.
All right. She's she's in and out of a work project right now. It kind of so there's a
Oh,
she's
that happens.
online with another obligation too. So
Well,
she's
sometimes that happens when work beckons.
yeah,
I understand.
we have to be multitasking in this day and age,
Yes, yes.
but it's
Well,
so
there's
nice to see you.
plenty, yes, there's plenty to discuss. I was playing Arc of a Dream. I don't know if you heard it while just as
No.
you were just as a little bit before you were coming on.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's such a beautiful song.
Oh,
But
thank you.
first of all, yeah, you're welcome. First of
Yeah.
all, why don't we just begin at the beginning? Tell us how you started your musical career.
Oh, wow. Well, it goes way back to like probably a lot of folks as a child, I just remember loving music ever since I can remember almost. And I guess when the Beatles showed up on Ed Sullivan TV, I was one of the millions, tens of millions of people watching that, as a 8-year old, probably something like that. And so that kind of started it, and my father, um, he, was a father of 9 kids and kind of a self-employed dude. But he found time, or I don't know, he had it in his head. He loved to sing, and he had it in his head he was going to learn how to play the ukulele. And that was right around the time when the Kingston Trio and Peter, Paul, and Mary and that whole kind of new wave of folk music was hitting in the early 60s. And so he brought a ukulele home and showed me 3 chords on the ukulele. And I just had all kinds of fun with it. And I think around 6th grade, I got into drums and all that. And I played drums for a while through high school, I guess. And I was in a bunch of garage bands. And then other band members showed me how to take the ukulele and turn it into a guitar, like convert the chords I knew into guitar chords. So I learned how to play guitar that way. And I don't know, I just have loved it all along. And, through the years, there are a lot of years that I didn't have even own a guitar. And I don't know, some years, decades ago, I woke up and said, I want to get another guitar and kind of learn how to finger pick, things like that. So I kind of followed that up maybe in the early 90s or something. I don't know, in the late 80s, early 90s. And at any rate, I started writing songs about 25 years ago. And I don't know where they came from or how or why they showed up, but they did. And it's been just such a joy to have that music in my life. And it's why you and I are sitting down today and talking. It's why we know each other, really. And so there's so many connections I've made over the years and so many experiences I've had with people, with other musicians, with, listeners and players and passersby at the beach. Yeah, so I don't know. It's hard to say, but I guess that takes us up to the present tense. It's just been a love affair with music, and um, so here we are, still infatuated.
Did you have any formal music training or you were practically self-taught?
Yeah, mostly self-taught. I took a couple lessons on guitar, but all told, probably less than
Did you have any
10
formal
lessons.
music training or you were practically self-taught?
Yeah, mostly self-taught. I took a couple lessons on guitar, but all told, we're getting a delay, like a
Yeah.
Yeah,
slap delay.
yes, I don't
I'll
know
put
how
myself
that.
on mute. I'll put
Oh, is it because we're hearing yours, maybe?
Oh,
Uh,
what Keralee, what you don't want to do is have us on any. You could join us on Zoom, but don't have us playing on another channel because we there will be a delay. Don't yeah, there will be feedback loop. So
yeah.
if you have us on another device, make sure you turn it off. Otherwise, there'll
Is
be a
this better,
feedback loop.
guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's better. Much
that is
better.
Okay,
better.
here we go.
It's distorted. Maybe it's too close to your mouth to the microphone. Well, now we can't hear you at all somehow. Nope,
Oh, maybe
Oh, I'm on mute. Is that better?
that's
yes.
better. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Learning, learning.
That's
Winning.
fine.
Hi.
Yes, we were just discussing how Daniel began his musical career. How did you begin yours, Carolee?
Oh, wow. Career is a really big word. Um, wow. Thanks for the question, Trudy. Thanks for having us both on. Um, um, I didn't really ever think I was going to play music. I always loved music. I had a lot of dance classes. I belonged to the Columbia Radio Club, you know what I mean, where you would get those uh, cassette tapes in the mail. And so I just had a deep relationship with music as a teenager. And then I, I began to date musicians in my 20s and I would write them songs and they would give them to other people. And I was like, wait, what? So I kind of was just exposed. I was exposed sort of like a virus to musicians. And then here's the funniest thing, and then I won't talk too much about it. I was driving home to Minneapolis from Chicago and I stopped to use the bathroom in a music store and they had a guitar and it was very unconscious. I just was like, well, I better buy a guitar. This is in 2003. And I just sort of started to peck out songs off and on, on that guitar. And in 2009 started to go to open mics, much to everybody's chagrin. And here I am.
Well, you're really good. Did you have any formal music training or were you self-taught?
Yeah, I used to play piano when I was a kid, but not very well. I played Nadia's theme and Stairway to Heaven, and I was the last trumpet in the band.
Mm.
So, so
Mhm.
rudimentary, yes.
Mm. So you never uh, like studied music theory and all that, but
That's on my bucket list, but don't tell anybody. Hopefully.
well, now everybody knows. But you sure
Mhm.
sound really good in the tracks that we played. We played about maybe 5 or 6 of your tracks already.
Oh my gosh, that's really exciting. Well,
And mm,
Daniel's the maestro, so I
Who's
hope we
he?
Daniel. I mean, he's the
Oh,
maestro.
Daniel Maestro. Yeah, he's excellent.
so so the two of you are songwriters, and then how how did you connect to work together?
Daniel.
I'm gonna should I field this one?
Yes.
Okay. Well, like I was saying in when a minute ago, music like it's like anything in life, you get into something. It's for instance, you're on the radio, Trudy. You know what I mean? And you didn't start out probably thinking you'd be on the radio and all of that. And so it's the same with music. You just if you're in it, like whatever you're in, it just takes you places and you kind of bump into other people and other situations. And so that's kind of how I ran into Keralee. I mean, through music. And and she had this big idea somehow that like we were going to be, like the next Donnie and Marie. And so I just went along with it in a
No,
way.
Daniel, that is like the biggest, that is so not true.
I
And
just went along with it. I thought, okay. Um,
wait a minute. Trudy, do you have,
Yes,
oh.
please.
okay, here's the honest truth. I'm going to name check some very well-known Chicago musicians here. Um, Steve Mend of Super Mini Trio asked me to come to his gig in like 2013 because I'm a little bit, let's just say I don't have a secretary. I went to the wrong bar and I was sitting there listening to the music and it was Daniel singing with the very capable, elegant, and wonderful Melanie Budd. And they were singing these transcendent harmonies. And I remember sitting at the bar in one of these sub-zero nights in November of 2013, sitting with my friend and saying, "Oh, bummer, we're at the wrong bar." And then hearing these guys sing, and I turned around and I said, "Wow, they're great." And I just really couldn't believe how great they were together. And also they had a fiddler player that I thought I could sneak into my band. And so when I went to talk to the fiddler player, Daniel asked me to dance. And that's how it all began. We had no idea we'd play music.
Right, right. True. But we played together through the years, and pursued like other interests as well. You know, Keralee has had she's in a band now and has been for the past 4 or 5 years, I guess. BabyNoName is
Affirmative.
is the name of her band. And so yeah, we've always kind of found also opportunities to collaborate and stuff. And most recently, her and I are in this duo known as the Flying Chaucers, and and so we'll go out and play, but locally mostly, like really in the Rogers Park neighborhood. It seems like that's about as far as our saucer will go. And but it's a lot of fun, and I think we have a nice connection. There's certain songs we sing together that I think we sing just really, they're really rewarding to sing, and hopefully they're equally for people to listen to. And so that's that's what we're up to as far as that kind of stuff goes, you know.
The two of you seem to be very prolific songwriters. What inspired you to write songs? And did you write just poetry before ever, or it has always been songs?
You want to go ahead,
Well, I
Daniel?
think you should start, right?
Well, I always have been a writer, and I was always a poet, and I was always writing songs as a kid. And I'll just be honest, I have no idea what happened. It just happened. It just happened. And I think Chicago is a really robust community. And if you're kind of struck by the muse and it can express itself in many different ways. I mean, I've been involved in theater, I've been involved in art, whatever, but it just seemed a natural progression because I was always writing poetry.
And by
So
the way, those songs that you wrote and gave to those singers, and they gave it to other people, I guess you kind of did you lose your rights to them? Were they like given away?
which songs, mine or Daniel's?
Yours, I think. You said that you in the beginning you were kind of starstruck and were following musicians around, and then you gave them some of the songs that you wrote or something like that, and then they
Oh,
like
well,
passed them along to someone
those
else.
were my boyfriends, and I don't know what happened to them. I mean, I'm sure they're maybe I can sue them for a variety of reasons. No, they're wonderful people. One has a project called Musical Chairs, and it was only like a couple songs, really. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think I'm at that level of no, I mean, come on. Thank you for that question, but it was
And,
just great that they did that.
and Daniel, you were saying, sorry to interrupt you.
Um, um, yeah, I think I started probably about 25 years ago writing,
Mhm.
and I can't say why really exactly. Um, I think I had tried before. You know, I think in prior to that, I think I had written a song in high school that that my mother thought would be, or I did too. It was about the good humor man that used to come around, the ubiquitous ice cream man in the summertime. And I wrote a song about him and his ice cream. And it was kind of catchy and all this. And I think my mom even tried to send that. Maybe I made a recording or something. I don't remember. But anyway, that was in high school, and I think years and years, decades went by, and I hadn't written anything else. And somehow, like 25 years ago, ideas started coming, and I just found myself somehow open to these musical ideas that were showing up, and it's inexplicable. I think probably, I mean, so we both said, really, in essence, we just both said we don't know how it happened, and really, I think there's probably a lot of folks that are doing, I don't know, whatever it is you might endeavor, like it's certainly writing or creative endeavors. I mean, I don't know, maybe people are born to it, or maybe they're nature versus nurture, or how these things happen. I don't know, but I think probably I speak for everybody. It's so amazing that it does add, adding art to the world, adding beauty to the world. Um, is kind of an interesting, I don't know, that's an interesting dynamic,
Mm.
and so I mean I'm happy for it. I can't say how or why, but I'm
Mm.
happy for it.
Yes, absolutely. So there was nothing that was happening in your life that caused you to uh, delve into music. It just like happened, in other words.
Yeah, well, for me, kind of like that, I think. Um, you know, I think
Mm.
so.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know. I had tried before, maybe, and I would like self-censor myself. I mean, I think I might try, and I would come away thinking, I don't like what I just, whatever had come up with. And so I think I talked myself out of, um, pursuing that, or spending any time, trying to write. But at some point, I guess I must have liked something I had come up with enough to pursue it, and then got enough feedback from people, um, where I thought, okay, well, maybe this is a worthwhile pursuit, you know.
Were you
Uh,
comparing yourself to some artists and then that was weighing you down?
um, I don't know, maybe, yeah, maybe so. I mean, I don't know, not really any, just music that I respected, I guess, or just was in love with. And I thought, well, maybe I'm not worthy or whatever to count myself in that uh, trade. Maybe, I don't know. It's just, how you can speak to yourself, negatively or whatever. You can kind of discourage yourself in your internal kind of dialogue, and maybe that's what I had done. Anyway, I think at one point I became more open to what was coming out when I would try to write, and I was just continued to be open to it, and I started getting enthusiastic about it in a way. I mean, I was encouraged by what was happening, and so I just stayed with it. And yeah, so that's my take. Maybe Keralee has I don't know, if she
Can,
remembers the question.
can, can I talk about the time when you played at the ashram?
Oh, well, if you like, yeah.
Is that okay, Trudy? I'll just,
Absolutely.
well, I mean, so Daniel, he's a great teacher for me. I really don't know how it all happened, but he's like a really evolved and special songwriter. And he's got a jazz background. I mean, I don't know how he became my teacher, but he's got a jazz background and he's constantly pushing himself to make music that's a little more complex. And he's an extraordinary performer. I just think he could hold his add up to almost anybody out there. And he came to visit me once. I mean, not that it's a competition, but he's, he's a secret, you know, I think his music's incredible. So he came to visit me once in Mexico, and I was finishing up a 3.5 month training at an ashram where they were about to have a concert or some sort of presentation. And I was very out of place. I was the oldest one there, and of course, not totally out of place, but there were all these 25-year-olds who were about to be blessed by the guru and have these concerts. And Daniel showed up, and I said, "You're on. You're going to be playing." He had no idea. And what was really interesting is there was about 50 people there, and they had just been in a space of rarity. They'd been meditating for 3 months. They'd been in retreat. They'd not been using alcohol. This includes myself. And and they were receptive in this kind of very open, unusual way. And when Daniel played, oh my God, it was like people started crying. It was the weirdest thing. It was so cool. People started turning around to look at me with their jaws dropping. And like previously they were like, well, who is this? And what's this all about? And then he had this magical experience. And I think he created a lot of magic for people, and that's sort of a phenomenon in his shows for people who are receptive. You know, not everybody's receptive. Everybody has a different taste, but so I guess that's I don't even know why I'm speaking about that, but I think maybe Daniel, if I can be so bold, you chase a certain feeling and you chase a certain experience musically that's a little bit rare, and I think people when they experience it, that's unusual.
Mm.
Well, Daniel, do you still remember what song or songs you were playing at the ashram that day?
I do remember the song. Um, yeah, I had just gotten off the plane, and I think I had to take 2 airplanes maybe to get there.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of weary from the traveling. And then when I met Keralee, she said, "Oh yeah, there's like a concert tonight. Um, you know, a culmination or a graduation of and I signed you up," she said. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, you know." But I was kind of run down and stuff. I remember feeling kind of weary, and I think that kind of changed my voice a little bit too. When I performed the song, my voice felt a little tired or a little different, you know.
Oh,
And but I think at least picking up on what Keralee said. And by the way, Keralee is
okay. Now,
she's
now, now, now,
no, I have to say this.
no,
She's
no.
an exceptionally punctual person.
Guitar. Say
She's
something about
punctual.
oh,
No, Keralee is gifted in a way, whatever kind of hyperbole she just used to describe me. Really, it applies to her.
no. Okay, wait.
She's honestly, she's an extraordinary
Okay, stop.
writer. She's extraordinary, and I'm not kidding. And she writes in more media than just songs. I mean, she's like an essayist or not, or I don't know, nonfiction or
Let's talk
mostly
about my guitar.
nonfiction.
Talk about
But
my
anyway,
guitar.
she's really kind of an exceptional writer. I'm not kidding. It could stand up as be serialized in like whatever the magazine, New Yorker,
On the
let's
back of the cereal box. It's
on the
perfect.
back of the cereal box. If you send in a box top, she'll write you a poem. No, she's really, really fantastic, and I'm not really saying that. I'm meaning that, and
You're channeling that.
and I always challenge her to send her writing
Bonnie.
stories she's written. I wonder why she
Okay.
doesn't, doesn't.
Eh. Eh.
Of course, you could say the same about me. I mean, I've been doing this like 25 years and I've never made a CD, a record, I guess, you know. Anyway, but anyway, well, I do, I don't know what, anyway, yeah, but that ashram experience was really interesting. And I think what it comes down to, and maybe it is, it's like the kind of the stuff of dreams in a way. I think writing comes from like almost waking dreams, or you know, you go to a place when you're writing or when you're in any creative endeavor. I think you kind of leave where you are, even if you're sitting in front of your computer writing. Your mind is somewhere else. You know, you're trying to bring things out from elsewhere, I think, you know. And that's kind of how I feel about when I write, and I feel the same way when I sing. It's almost the same kind of thing, that there's a certain emotion that you uh, try to conjure when you're singing a song, like great song interpreters. You know, like for instance, Judy Garland. I don't know if there's a freaking greater singer that ever opened his or her mouth. I mean, to listen to that woman sing and what she does with like a standard song that many, many people have sung, but to listen to her sing that, I don't know, it's almost otherworldly. She's got such a I don't know, such a way with the music. And I think it's mainly maybe just because it's completely honest and it's completely uh, self-conscious. There's no, you know, it's just totally real in a way that I think just strikes a chord with people, or you know, they instantly recognize that humanity, you know, her take on humanity in that moment. You know, it's stunning, and in a way, I try to go to some place when I'm singing as well as when I'm writing. You know, or maybe I try to get back to the place I was when I wrote the lyric, and I try to sing my way back to that place. You know, I don't know, but it's certainly a you know, I saw a thing on Brian Wilson last night, and he talked about his brothers, him and his two brothers, and the joy. You know, they characterized what they were doing as joyful, and if not joyful, I would use the word ecstatic. Like there's an ecstasy in it that I think that's why listeners keep coming back. That's why we come back to listen. And I think that's why performers come back to perform, you know.
Because you are such good songwriters, have you ever had an occasion or occasions when your audience or someone you know came and asked you, could you write a certain song about something, and they would give you a topic?
Um, that would be no. That would be a no, Bob.
I
That's funny.
think people have asked me or said, "Oh, there's an idea," or "What about?" And I've never been able to do that. I've never been able to write to a prompt. I've never tried it actually. Although people that, you know, like do this little workshop once a month at the Old Town School of Folk Music, a songwriting workshop,
Mm.
and but there's also songwriting teachers at the Old Town School of Folk Music, and much of the way they approach their teaching is they will give their students a prompt to write to, like a subject to write about, or a certain construct, musical construct to write to, things like this. But I've never been able to do that. I mean, I more or less wait for something to show up, and then if I think there's enough there, I'll pursue what's come up.
So does usually the music come first or the lyrics?
Hey, Trudy, I want to answer that question, but I also want to talk about something Daniel said a couple minutes back. Is
Sure.
that can I well regarding the question if the music or lyrics come first, I I I I write because something's brewing in my being, my human experience. So I would say that it all comes at once, and then the words I end up burnishing and playing with the words, and sometimes I write myself through. Whoa, hold on. People are calling me. We have an on-air caller. No, I'm not going to answer this. Anyhow, when I write myself through a certain process, like, but I can talk to that later. But is it okay if I loop back, Rudy? Danny was talking about, I think, the muse, and I had a mentor. Maybe he was a writer. His name was Dean. I forgot his last name, but he was a really cool guy. I was living in Minneapolis just out of college, and uh he was going to rent me a house, and it turns out he was a classical piano player and a writer. He'd written a couple books, and I don't know, I think I just maybe parroted him for a few years, not realizing this. He always said artists are like plumbers. There's nothing that, we are not doing anything remarkable. What's remarkable is that we're doing it in a culture that doesn't really value it in a way that, you know what I mean? It's like it makes it seem unusual and difficult, but it is not unusual or difficult. It is, I would say, it's just something that happens, and maybe somebody has a more predilection for this or that. And it's like a great mechanic is an artist, a great plumber, a great politician is an artist. There's the art of medicine, and there is an art and a craft to songwriting, which I don't know what it is because I'm not a technical person, and everybody can tell you I don't really know anything about music theory. But what is really real and true is that sometimes if you allow yourself to listen to that whispery thing, something happens and then you follow it. And I think it's so rare. It's so beautiful, and I hope everybody's doing it in their own lives in their own ways. And and it's a rough culture we're in right now. And so I really appreciate you asking these questions, and thanks for letting me diverge a little bit. Because we're all just trying to be out here communicating somehow, everyone shining, really radiating beautiful things, whatever it is that people are making. Anyhow, that's it on that level.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that you mentioned uh, uh, art being like plumbing, because plumbing is actually putting all the pieces together correctly. And
Right.
art is practically the same thing.
hmm Well, it's like I think we're just creative. People are creative. We're
Innately.
human beings are creative, and
Yeah.
there's just I don't know, like almost countless. There's countless ways to express it. Just in music, like like this workshop I teach. I think I describe in the curriculum. I describe that it's songwriters or the songs that they conjure are like fingerprints. There's no two that are alike. Even in the songwriting classes, even people writing to a prompt, like a universal prompt, and if there's 8 people in the class, you get 8 just entirely different songs. I mean, so what we create is just our personality. It's an outgrowth of our personalities, and we're all different. And that's the beauty of it, is that this creativity. I mean, music has always been my thing, but you can find it in all the arts. That or in different creative endeavors. It's people that there's just new people that come to it in their own time and in their own way. And it's many times it's so gratifying to come across it like a consumer of it. You know,
Hmm.
you hear it and you're like, oh my God, it's where did that come from? And it's so unique and beautiful somehow in a way that I don't know. It's just I mean we can talk about it forever. You know, I mean what did somebody say? It's like songwriting, or it's trying to describe like architecture. There's some little thing like I forget what it is. I don't know why I brought that up. I can't remember things. It's probably a good attribute also to not remember anything eventually.
You're you're in the
Well,
So
moment.
yeah,
yes.
but yeah, there was something else I was gonna say. I don't know, something keying on what Keralee said, but you know, yeah, it's just so it's amazing. It's kind of just amazing, you know.
What projects are the two of you working on now? And let's talk about your new album too, Keralee.
Oh, okay. Um, well, okay. Uh, First, yeah, wow. Shout out to all the musicians and that we're working with. I just we laid down 8 tracks with Baby No Name, and I've been learning a lot about that process. And I never really thought about the difference between a performing artist and a recording artist, but it's a different skill set, and I'm not even I'm just learning about everything. So Baby No Name is tracking, and we're burnishing this. We're at Dr. Kaw up in Northbrook, and it takes a long time. We started in I think August, and I have had the satisfaction as a solo artist of like almost immediate gratification, and this is something that occurs over time and is a very it's like a filtration process, and it has a lot to do with logistics. But when you are in there and you make a connection and you record something, it's extremely exhilarating. But I personally am a little daunted by it, and I haven't listened to it very much because listening is hard for me, and I know I have to get back there. So yeah, but so that's what we're doing. And Daniel, I think Daniel's constantly recording on his own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a thing at home that I can record with, and so it's a different experience than going into a studio. You know, I can do it at my leisure, and there's no pressure. You know, there's no time constraint really, and so yeah, it's kind of a different thing. But her record, she has 2 records with Baby No Name now, or you'll have the second one come out soon.
Yeah, we're gonna have another baby,
Mhm.
and I have to say that Chris Lesueur of Tar Pit and Headlights and now Triple Fame, and then Miss Henya Flynn of Defend Me Heaven, and she used to work with her former husband Peter Flynn in a band, and then we work with a guy named Rick Shandling. You can find him all over Chicago. He's one of the best jazz drummers and piano tuners you could find in Chicago. So I'm really lucky that these guys allow me to tag along. It's really true because I
Hmm.
don't know what's going on.
And did you write all those songs, all the tracks?
No, Chris is a writer. Chris is a really awesome writer.
Mm.
And the ones that that you heard, I wrote most of those except for the a couple of Chris's, I think. And I also worked with a really amazing musician named Ben Sturdivant, who is currently sitting in Brazil, hopefully listening on headphones. And Ben you can go to his Bandcamp page. He's this prolific guy. And also we have to do a shout out to the Jarvis Square Pottery. He does sound at the Jarvis Square Pottery, and he's like a musical force in this neighborhood. So
Yeah, yeah.
he's
Ben lives in
orchestrating.
Rogers Park too, and he's kind of a transplant from St. Louis, younger. Well, most people are younger than me, but he's really a. There's so much talent, so much brilliance
Yeah,
in Rogers Park. In the city as a whole, I should
yeah,
say.
yeah.
Uh, but but we enjoy like our little beehive enclave up here, and there's just so much rewarding art going on up here. It's really kind of a joy to live in the midst of it. It's really cool.
When you do you know the business side of your track, Keralee? Because we have a, a program at the station where the tracks would generate so that you would get the royalties. It's called Spinatron, and your tracks generated really well. They picked up. So whoever was
Ooh,
on your business side was doing a very good job on registering your music.
that would be Ben. I'm waving to Ben. I didn't even Ben and Chris. So that's the whole learning process that can be a little bit daunting, but it's just business. I kind of think about it as being just part of the conversation because there's like what I don't even know how many million people in the United States, and it's just sharing your conversation, sharing your songs. It's like sharing something. So yeah, that's exciting to hear, Trudy. That's great.
Yes. And but Daniel, yours were not generating, so maybe hopefully Ben might be able to help you because
Oh,
Yes.
we do want you to get your royalties, and that's how we know that you know I typed it in for you, so you will still get it, but it'd be really great if they would be able to generate on their own. So,
oh, okay.
mhm,
Thank you.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Because we love supporting our local artists and people like you.
Trudy, you and Bill do a great job. You're amazing. Thank you so much for, you know, helping us get exposure. That's great.
Thank you.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
what about gigs? Do you have time for gigs now? Seems as
Oh
if
yeah. Oh yeah.
good, good, good. And are there uh, are there any coming up that we should be aware of?
Sure. Daniel, do you have something?
Uh, no, not really. I'm playing at a private party coming up in February. Um, and usually just around here, like there's a really cool little wine store that has a great little listening room in it. The Picnic Wine and Provisions on Chase and Sheridan, and they put live music on in there, and it's really a chill, very nice place to experience music. It's so cool. So we both played in there,
Mhm.
and so I think we more or less need to schedule dates there. You know, and the Pottery is a place. The aforementioned Jarvis Square Pottery is another unique venue in the
I'm
neighborhood.
playing at a shoe shop.
Oh,
No, I'm just kidding, Daniel.
Really?
Sorry, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead.
no,
I
is
do have
that?
it.
Well,
No,
yeah, I thought you were
I
doing your soul music over there.
no. Huh? Did you get that? I'm playing at a
yeah,
shoe shop.
yes.
Ah, I know. Actually, I'm sorry. I do have a gig that is kind of at this really interesting bar. We just play well where they'll have us. It's and this is a cool bar called the Sovereign. So on February 2nd, I'll be playing with Steve Mend, and we'll play some cover songs. Then a bunch of people from the neighborhood. We'll play like an hour and a half, and then it turns into a jam. But um, I can I say? Oh, gosh, I have a lot to say. Can I say something
Yes,
about?
yes, please.
Okay, so we are so lucky to be in a beautiful place where music is so appreciated and there's a lot of people working. I just wanted to mention there's a, a newcomer on the block named Andrea Halloran, who is a wonderful singer. And Andrea is so great. She and I were talking the other day, and she brought up the notion of what of the arts and the current political year. And it's such a great point. I'm just going to reiterate it. Why is there no discussion of the arts? In these debates that we see, of course, we have these worldly concerns. Of course, we want to know about the economy, but what is wrong with, I mean, there's plenty of right, there's plenty of wrong, but really it was a great thought, and I just want to credit her with that notion of we should really be asking our politicians to think more about the arts, to support them more, to create a slush fund that doesn't go to, lobbyists or whatever, or lobbyists, blah, blah, blah. Here I am. I don't even know. I don't know anything about politics, but I thought Andrea was so brilliant to say that. And I don't even know the name of her band, but she lives in Rogers Park, has a great voice, and we
Mm-hmm.
love her.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, she'd be another one. There's so many in the neighborhood that we can kind of hook you up with too.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that you could have on like us and talk to. And there's just a whole lot. Um, yeah. And
That would be wonderful.
mm-hmm,
Thank
mm-hmm.
you.
Yeah. So your
And
questions have been great, by the way, Trudy.
oh,
They're
thank
really
you.
good and kind of insightful and hopefully we've answered, you know,
Oh,
to your
you.
satisfaction. I know that you can be tough as an interview, and I mean, we want to make sure we're giving you the answers that you need.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of being tongue in cheek, kind of joking around there, but your questions are really nice, and um, you and Bill, your partner, you both are so committed to, in so many ways, to this neighborhood and to the quality of life here in many different ways. And I think you deserve to be applauded for that.
Thank
It's,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, while I'm on the air, I'm supposed to be remain anonymous, but thank
Oh,
you for
Oh,
that.
sorry.
That's okay. But thank you.
yeah.
Um,
Okay. Well,
well,
you could edit this, hopefully.
yeah, sure. It's a little difficult, but we'll see. But anyway, I do have a few more questions.
Uh-huh.
And so you are also writing songs even as we speak, right? It's almost like when you wake up, or do you are you do how long does it take you to write a song? But I guess it depends on the song.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, do you want to, Carolee?
uh, do you want it, Daniel?
Well, yeah, it is different with every song, probably. And I think it's different with every writer, even, maybe.
Mhm.
Like you asked a little while ago about what comes first, the lyrics, the words, or the music. And there's some writers that'll tell you, they have their own way and they start with the lyrics and then they add music later. And others will say that they start with the music, some musical idea. And then that kind of inspires lyrics, whatever musical idea. So I think like in terms of how long it takes or how it's done, it's really it's highly subjective. I've had songs that take me a half a year to write. I have an idea. I have part of the song written, um, but then the other, I feel like the like a chorus part or some bridge part or some other aspect of the song is stubborn. Like I know I want something to go in there, but I don't know what it is. And really what it is, it's just the way I do it is I play the song and I get up to the point that's unknown. And sometimes it's just unconscious and you jump somewhere and you land on an idea that fits. But sometimes those ideas come very quickly. Sometimes you could write a song in one sitting in 10 minutes but other times you get bits and pieces of a song and but to have the whole thing uh, recently I finished a song and I started the song in August and I finished it in uh, January maybe.
Mhm.
So I had parts, but not all of the parts. And so for me, I usually start with the music and like on the guitar, and I start with melody lines that work in the context of the guitar. But there's no words. There's just melody.
Mhm.
Sometimes the melody, the rhythm of the melody, or the number of syllables in the melody, sometimes sometimes there might be a word that falls that fits, or a phrase that falls and fits, and that might be a jumping off point, and then you go from there. At least that's my process.
Has there ever been a time when you have this melody in your head that just came out of nowhere, but that is very strong and unique and seem to um, be like a part of the universe?
I can talk about this. Is that okay, Daniel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or okay. Can I mention marijuana on the air? Because it's
Sure.
legal.
Yes.
Okay. I was, no, I mean, here's the thing. I was living
Is
in
this
New Mexico.
about your side business?
No,
Oh.
I was living in New Mexico in like the late 90s. No, late 80s, early 90s. And I don't know how, but somehow I got a hold of some marijuana. And I really had this experience of understanding the music of the spheres. I think there really is, there's music, there's resonance, there's music in everything. And and sometimes you tune into it and it becomes, like I say, again, this world is it has negative connotations, but it's infectious. It overtakes you. You live with it, and it demands to be sort of worked with. I think that absolutely does happen. And but unless I unless you record it, we're so lucky to have phones. I'll record snippets, and then maybe I'll come back and perseverate on them. I don't have the musical background to even know what notes they are. Somehow I I somehow can seem to find them on the guitar somehow. Now I'm thinking I need to get a keyboard because I can hear them and I don't know exactly what they are. But Daniel has all the theory. He has all the
Huh.
background.
I don't at all.
You don't?
I mean, I don't know half the chords I'm playing, you know. If
It's
I
true.
if I put a capo on the guitar, you know, it changes the key, and I know the shape of the chord, but I don't know if it's capoed. I don't know what that chord becomes when the key is changed. Not really. I have to think about it, you know. And I'll play with other guitar players, and they say, "Oh, it's in the key of E because you have a capo on too, and you're playing a D shape. It becomes an E." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I believe you." So I, I don't have, I'm kind of illiterate in that way too. And I think there's a lot of writers like that. I think Paul McCartney was illiterate to a large extent. I
Are
think,
you sure? Really?
yeah, I think if I read that correctly, I don't, I think I read that.
Are we
Uh,
gonna get sued?
Maybe so. But really, I think it kind of goes to this point where it's really, it's music is not theory, really.
Right.
Music is feeling.
Yeah.
Music is feeling. Music is vibration,
Yeah.
and you don't have to know anything to
Right.
feel those vibrations, you know. And that's the way I look at it. But yeah, that whole thing about the universal kind of melody or something coming from the universe too is
Mhm.
really an interesting question, you know. And I think sometimes, like for instance, I woke up once with a melody
Hmm.
in my head. Um, and that's not uncommon either, I suppose. But it stayed with me, and I wrote a song from what I had dreamt.
What
You
was
know,
the song? Do you have it?
yeah, it's a song called "See Me" is the name of the song,
Mm.
and yeah. But anyway, I woke up with it, and I just before too long or right away, I went to the guitar and maybe to my phone, something to kind of capture what I could remember from the dream. And then I just over time, then that became a new song, after having worked on it, Um, but that's a great question, like something from the universe, like where does it come from, you know? And yeah,
Your YouTube videos, do you film them yourself or do you have someone help you?
on the videos I've made,
Yes.
oh yeah, those are all, well, actually the one, I did a video with my son. Um, he lives in Copenhagen, and I went to see him last summer, and I took two telephones with me, and one phone had the soundtrack of Arc of a Dream on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put that phone in my pocket, and my son Sean had his phone, and so I turned the melody on, or I turned the song on that was in my pocket, and I just lip synced my way through Copenhagen, and he
Oh,
and he filmed it. And then he sent me all the footage, and I married it and edited it with the stereo soundtrack.
mm.
That's how that video came about. But it's for the most part, they're real simple things, like made on cell phones mostly.
What was the program that you used to edit your video?
It's Final Cut. Final Cut.
Mm.
It's an Apple program.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And but yeah, sometimes I'll do it. If I do it myself, I just set my phone or whatever on a tripod, and I'll just stand in front of the tripod, and that's it. You
mm.
know, so
Well,
it
that
probably
works.
looks like it. But
I
uh,
know.
Oh,
but anyway, yeah,
what's most important is the artist and the music, and that shines through.
yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. That was fun to make. The one in Copenhagen was
Yes.
really fun to make, and it was fun to have my son involved in that. And it was cool. It's a nice memory.
Okay. Where can our listeners go to hear more of both of your music, Daniel's and Keralee's?
Well, Keralee, why don't you tell them
Well,
where they can find my music?
you can find Daniel's music at
No, I'm teasing.
well, uh,
Well,
it's
all
on
right,
Bandcamp.
go ahead. Yeah.
Daniel Connolly one on Bandcamp, right?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, isn't it? Because there's
I
like a bunch.
Yeah, I think so. It's yeah, I guess. Let's see.
Yeah. And then I can you can everybody can find the Baby No Name's previous album Come Close on Bandcamp under Baby No Name. And then you can find the stuff I've done with Ben Sturdivant under
Whoa.
Kiki in the Land of Wah on Baby No Name. Or on Spotify, I guess. Um, both of those, Baby No Name and Kiki in the Land of Wah. Wah.
Actually, there might be a way. Isn't there a way to put it in the chat? Like, for instance, I'll put the link to my music right here in that chat, right? And can people see that who are watching on the Zoom, maybe?
Wait,
Uh, yeah, I think they can right now. If
wait a minute.
Yeah.
We're on
when
Zoom. People
Yeah,
can
Yeah.
see
well, it will come. Yeah, when the video
I
is
people
think
can
it
published, they will
says
be able to see it.
chat. Yeah.
But as long as you send me the links, I will include them in the description
Oh,
of the interview, so they could easily access it from there.
yeah, cool.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Keralee and Daniel, Keralee Froebel and Daniel Connolly, for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today. Much luck to you and happy songwriting and many, many great creations from the two of you.
Oh, thanks so
Thank
much yeah. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
having us.
Trudy, you're like Terry Gross. Thank you so much. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you
Thanks
soon.
for having us.
Great talking with you too. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.